kind of go on.
So we touched on Frankenstein a little bit, and I do think that Ultron is a really cool modern Frankenstein. What about Dracula? So breaking him down to his essential elements, because obviously you have Dracula in a lot of stuff, but like, what is the definitive kind of modern Dracula?
Have you seen this film, by the way?
Yes, I liked it a
It's
lot.
it's 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 very good. It's very good, and everyone memed it to hell when it came out. It's like, oh, it's Batman versus Dracula. No, it's actually good. But
Well, it's interesting because Dracula shows up and he's like, "Oh, somebody's carrying on my work because
yeah, it's like
I'm
this.
the Batman," and it's like,
This is
and
my
that
shtick.
right, and it's fascinating because it really is. There's really some cool. There's just a lot of cool stuff, man. This show's so underrated. Like,
Oh yeah, 100%. But
um, no, go ahead.
specifically with this Dracula and this kind of Batman, this Dracula is horrifying, but he's refined. He's a monster, but he's refined. He's intelligent. He's like he's even depicted in the openings of the film as this kind of decayed corpse that requires blood to come back. But basically, what we kind of see in the old Dracula films is the same thing. And then we get to the new Dracula films, a la Dracula Untold, and, the kind of, I don't want to say Game of Thrones-esque, but more action-y film. Because Game
Sure,
of Thrones at least has some gravitas
sure.
behind its stuff.
There's a lot of stuff in that. There's a lot of stuff in
Yeah,
Game of Thrones.
there's some problems with it, but anyway, behind this, and why Batman, as I said before, has been positioned as a vampire, based around vampires, or connected to vampires in a whole lot of different forms of media.
Sure.
It's probably one of the horror monsters or horror monster types that he's interacted with the most,
Right.
because he is a dude who has a bat as a motif, who hangs out at night and hunts criminals.
Well, it's
Add
fascinating
drinking
too.
blood, and you don't really change all that much.
Well, it's fascinating too because Batman dons the cape and cowl because bats are terrifying, right?
Yeah,
And it's weird because in our modern culture, he's like, I'm afraid of bats, and like, or bats are scary because he's drawing from, somebody obviously writing in the 1940s with the classic horror creatures much more in present view. That like, oh my gosh, bats would be scary. Like that's a scary creature
yeah,
of the
bats
night.
aren't really that scary anymore in the the
Let's
common zeitgeist. They just aren't.
Right. Batman is scary because he's Batman, because he's rough and brutal and has like an 8 pack and is just going to punch you into oblivion. Whereas, like,
He's got a battle axe. I
right.
I can't with that. But but no,
I'll pull that up real quick. Absolute
oh
Batman.
look, it might be really well written. I just can't get that out of my head. The battle axe. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I've never read it, but I just can't. It's
Yeah,
just such a
it's pretty
funny
rough.
concept.
It's pretty
But
rough.
that's kind of why, and that's actually a really major departure. Batman is sometimes depicted as lean, and
Yeah.
sometimes he is depicted as very muscular. Now, most of the time, he's fighting things that are bigger than him. Batman versus Killer Croc, Batman versus Solomon Grundy, Batman versus, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
shoot all the horror characters that you just listed.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that funny?
Right.
Uh, Solomon,
Batman
Solomon
versus a
Grundy.
killer clown, that type of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And
Well, sure. I
having
mean,
be the smaller one versus these guys, that kind of adds to the horror element. Batman himself, look, the Batman Arkham game, Arkham Asylum, that's a horror game.
100%.
That's a
100%.
horror action game. You are trapped in an asylum with a bunch of crazy villains who want to kill you.
Right.
Yeah, that's horrifying. And
Yeah,
it's played that way.
well, and I would say the modern Dracula too, because of course you have like characters, because like Frankenstein, it's really easy to see. Okay, Ultron or the AI things are like the modern Frankenstein. it's a very clear 1-to-1. I think Dracula's a little hard to place because, of course, Morbius is
Oh, Morbius died twice.
yeah. Um, it's Morbin time.
Oh God,
Is
it
and I think that
did
people have
horribly.
been I think people have been trying to resurrect Dracula in some form, and I just think that so much damage was done by Twilight that
Oh, 100%.
you're either trying to completely reinterpret him as like, oh, he's, a modern action star heartthrob, or, whatever, because it's just not taken seriously.
No.
There's no fear of it. The other thing too that I think that they stray away from a lot are the outright demonic elements.
Mm,
Very often, Dracula has made a deal with the devil to gain his powers, and
I
the
mean,
frustrating part with that is that very often they're kind of going, well, we're just going to make a sciency creature, and it's like,
it doesn't
yeah,
have the same gravitas. I mean, heck, Dracula is often called like Dracula. The root word of that is Draco, I think, which is dragon, and the devil is often construed as the dragon.
sure.
It's very connected.
Well, right,
But
and
like,
so I think that one of the problems with characters
I
like
love the
this,
all the serious Draculas, and then there's
the stupid
the Hotel
Hotel Transylvania.
Transylvania
Yeah, this is
Dracula.
what a great thing about what we're talking about. It's like just Adam Sandler with like a comb back hair. Um, no, I mean, I think that that's one of the problems is that you have these, to be honest with you, the closest thing I can really think of would be like Ghost Rider kind of. Like you have that
Yeah, Ghost Rider
demonic
would be a good one.
demonic feared, and I think it's just because it's like there's a kind of taboo and a kind of fatalistic nature to Dracula in the sense that Dracula can actually pretty easily be killed as well because he can
Yes.
be out in the sunlight or he can be affected by holy items or whatever. So he's got to actually be kind of intelligent with the way
Yeah.
he does things. Like in a physical competition, Dracula's supposed to be basically invulnerable, right? You can't kill him by conventional means. And so you have to have a holy weapon or a designed way to kill him. But that being said, those things are not terribly uncommon. So one of the great threats about Dracula too that's very undermined by a lot of the modern vampires is that he's intelligent and he's calculating.
Yeah.
Um,
Half of his gravitas, half of his ability to scare people is so that he doesn't have to fight.
right,
All he
right.
wants to do is eat to sustain himself. That's it.
Sure. Well, and the other thing too, because they had a friend of mine who was writing a book that has vampires in it. And what was interesting was we went back to the lore, and Dracula can turn himself into mist. He can turn himself into bats. He can turn
Oh
himself
yeah.
into wolves. I mean, he's got a bunch of crazy powers. He's like a force of nature.
Have you ever heard
Um,
of Vampire the Masquerade?
yes, yes, I have.
So that's one that really depicts vampires pretty well. They have their own kind of masquerade society hiding among humans, but otherwise, they take a lot of the tropes from different depictions of vampires and make them their own clans. For example, the Gangrel clan are the more monstrous vampires that shift and transform and control animals, that sort of thing. The Nosferatu vampires are the really ugly Count Orlok type vampires. So when we have the kind of depictions in that RPG, I love Bloodlines. Bloodlines is an amazing game. But we have those kind of depictions in an RPG. It's talking about all of the different depictions of vampires that's been before. The
But you
modern
see,
concept of vampire is really odd.
but what's so lame is that when you were saying all those things, this is what I thought of.
Yeah.
where you're just like, oh, it's the vamp kids, and they drink tomato juice, and they
There was
suck.
actually a trend back when Twilight came out where people were biting each other's necks and drawing blood.
Oh my gosh.
That was a legitimate thing.
You can speak. I gotta look up Twilight total box office.
Twilight made a lot of money, I think.
$3.36 billion.
Yeah, it made a lot of money. It killed vampires for a good long while, though.
But do you think they've recovered? I mean, like,
no,
I don't think Morbius was taken seriously.
No. Well, hold on. Let's see. Recent vampire films.
My God.
Well, let's see.
160 million copies sold.
Yeah. All right. These. Thank you, Google. I'm going to say a few films. Let's see if you recognize any of them. When does this come out? All right. What We Do in the Shadows. It's a show.
Yeah, it's a comedy show.
Yeah, it's a comedy show depicting vampires.
Yeah.
Only Lovers Left. A girl walks home alone at night. Jacob's Wife. Renfield. I actually saw Renfield. Renfield was fine. That one's kind of good. Renfield is the servant of Dracula, and it's a modern depiction of someone becoming the Renfield of Dracula.
I gotcha.
It's kind of cool.
Okay, let me ask
Underworld, which is another.
Let me ask you a weird question.
Yeah.
Because I just thought about this. Do you think the other thing that has made Dracula so lame is that you can actually depict him, because he kind of hides in the shadows and so on and uses his powers off screen, that you can depict him in really low budget things? So there's a lot of low budget garbage crap that has Dracula like vampires in it.
He's in the public domain.
Right.
So he can be put in literally everything. Whether it makes sense or not. That's just how it is. The point of the original Bram Stoker's Dracula, or like any depictions of the original black and white Dracula, those were low budget films to start with. Like, they didn't have a lot of budget back then. So they had a lot of camera tricks. For ratings for The Creature of the Black Lagoon, they had more camera tricks of like a shoe floating by, or to depict, oh, someone didn't make it back type thing. It wasn't, I'm going to show all the blood and the gore. Blood and gore is all fine and good when depicted in a film, but not when it's overdone to the point where it's no longer scary. It's kind of like humorized,
right,
to put in a weird way. It's taken lightly because it looks silly. Underworld's more science.
Yeah.
Vampires. Oh boy, that one. Don't know that one.
Yeah, I don't think vampires have been able to escape their root. I think with stuff like Frankenstein, you can put him in an AI setting or in a nuclear setting, and he's able to escape kind of that cliche lightning strikes a corpse type of thing.